My name is Owen Halsey, and this is my submission for the production module. Specifically, today I'll be talking about the specific new media venue that is the YouTube channel ContraPoints and all of the different theories that can be applied. ContraPoints is a channel ran by a woman named Natalie Wynn, where she typically uploads video essays that go deep into different social or political issues, and it's a very long analysis of these issues, ranging from about 40 minutes to an hour. Now, the reason why I chose ContraPoints as the YouTube channel to go over for this production module is because I feel like they represent a bunch of different interesting effects that convergence and a bunch of the theories in the book talk about that aren't necessarily obvious, however, are very much. Let's go over some of the protocols. That right there is an example of protocol typically on Natalie's channel. She typically cuts in between different segments of her video that analyze different parts of the issue, along with a title explaining what that section will be called and what it will go over. Some other protocols that she typically follows are very long video links, as well as many different skits, as well as like this background. Now, instead of my background being a random outside that's very, very cold, it is a very warm wall in a room. A couple of other protocols that she typically follows is citing multiple different sources, as well as referencing many different philosophies and theories, which remind me kind of this, where I'm going to be referencing different theories from the readings, and then the effects of her being a largely YouTube-based media is seen in her economics. ContraPoints' economics typically consists of fans or subscribers supporting her Patreon, where every single month they pay a certain sum of money to her in exchange for benefits, as well as more personal connections with her. She also accepts donations through PayPal, which largely funds many of her videos, as she uses many extravagant sets and costumes to display her points sometimes. Now, the reason why this is an interesting effect is because that ContraPoints is also a trans woman, and typically in normal media structures, there's not a lot of room for trans women in the media. However, through the power of YouTube and being able to have access to a fan base, she can actually collect her economics and her funds from her supporters, who are likely disenfranchised people like her, building almost like another interesting thing about Natalie using YouTube as a media is typically the power relations around trans women in media would be them having to fill a very select role, or almost a very degrading role that would be typically, you know, stereotyping trans women, forcing them to be uncomfortable in their role. However, through means like YouTube, she can actually create her own power relations around herself. She doesn't have to listen to anyone else who tells her how to make videos. She doesn't have to approve anything by anyone. And if anything, her power relations are greatly improved by YouTube being itself, because she's only typically surrounded by people who agree with her, or people who would not discriminate against her for being a trans woman, as people typically do not watch people who they don't support. However, even though YouTube lifted some of these power relations for her producing media, it also kind of placed them on her. In YouTube itself, there's a very large discriminatory attitude towards the LGBT community, along with many other disenfranchised people. So it lifts her from power relations from traditional media, however, places her into new power relations in